morning, everybody. It's Jeff the Iron Wolf here. What are we going to talk about today? The reason why behind the whole Brett Kavanaugh confirmation and why it's so bitterly contested by the Democrats. Now, where do we start? Well, we start with the facts that what the Supreme Court was meant to do. The Supreme Court was meant to do to make sure that anything added to the Constitution or that was under the Constitution, like federal law, was in the framework of what the Constitution is there for. But in reality, especially in this day and age, the Supreme Court's decisions literally have the force of law. In fact, one of the most landmark decisions, Roe versus Wade, is basically a law that was never passed by Congress. That's case in point. And there's a couple of others, Brown versus the Board of Education, a couple of other landmark Supreme Court decisions have literally turned into a precedent and have basically been enforced as rule of law. So basically, we have 9 people who never have to stand for re-election, who aren't even elected by the people, they're elected by the Senate, have the ability to write laws based on their decisions. And this is why the Kavanaugh decision has literally been so hotly contested, and the Democrats, even at the risk of losing the 2018 midterms, are literally pulling every lever in sight to keep Kavanaugh off the bench, though I think they failed. Why? They were trying to run the tables on the Supreme Court. They were trying to get an unfavorable balance of power in the Supreme Court. They were trying to make it 5 liberals to 3 conservatives plus 1 moderate undecided. So basically, they could force any issue to the Supreme Court for the next God knows how many years, and pretty much always get their way unless, one of the liberals flipped. That's what the Democrats were attempting to do. They were attempting to forestall as long as they could, get a Democratic president in there, and then get his nomination, and then steamroll it through. Well, the problem is the plan backfired. But that is the low-down, dirty, quick explanation on why this has been so hotly contested by the Democrats and what is really wrong with the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court isn't fulfilling, well, it is fulfilling the function that it's there for, but it's also something that allows Congress to pass the buck on when it's a hotly contested issue that they don't want to deal with. So in essence, the judicial branch is also a legislative branch now, and one that does not stand for election. Now, if anybody can't see the problem with this, well, I don't think you paid attention in government class. This is turning into a serious problem, and why the Kavanaugh decision has turned into a 10-ring circus and an absolute farce and travesty in American politics. So, yeah, and this is why I love you, May, Jesse Milestone, but in your political rant about Kavanaugh's fitness, you were wrong about a few things. I mean, I know you were in the heat of the moment, and I know you were talking about him losing his cool, but Supreme Court justices have lost their cool before. And if you don't think they're partisan, sorry, May. They are almost as partisan, sometimes if not more partisan, than the governing body that put them in power. So, yeah, I'm sorry, May. On that last video, I cannot agree with most of your suppositions, and honestly, putting Kavanaugh on the bench maintains the status quo and an equilibrium. Allowing the Democrats to continue this shit show of blocking any conservative nominee. And honestly, I'm surprised that the Democrats aren't jumping up and down, falling all over the stumps to get Kavanaugh on the bench, because he's actually more of a centrist and an undecided vote / swing vote rather than a staunchly conservative. Because until Scaglia, I think his name is, I can't say a name, but he was staunchly a conservative judge. And the Supreme Court was split 4-4, 1 undecided. Kavanaugh actually could have made it 4-3-2 undecided. Possibly. If certain values are taken at face value. But anyways, that's my take on the Supreme Court and why this has turned into the shit show it has, and why the Democrats, even at the expense of the midterm elections, are literally falling over themselves, grabbing any lever in sight, using any excuse to try and block Kavanaugh. But today, Saturday, I think this afternoon, this evening, we're going to have the vote, and I'm pretty sure, unless an act of God happens, he's going to be confirmed. And then the Democratic Party is going to reap the whirlwind for their stupidity. Whether you like him or not, I think Brett Kavanaugh is going to be a Supreme Court justice. But as I said, we've got a major problem with the Supreme Court, and we also have sheer laziness of the House and the Senate because they're too scared to deal with the big boy issues. They just rather kick it to the Supreme Court, let them give a decision, and just use that as rule of law and call it a day. And that way, oh, if you don't like the decision, well, you can complain to the Supreme Court. We didn't do this. Well, of course you did, and you passed a bucket, chicken shit bastards. What the hell am I paying you for? Well, that's my lovely look on the interesting world of U.S. politics and why it's as screwed up as it is. Catch y'all later.